we tried doing a lot of cold calling. We did that a lot in the beginning, and then we got more in depth with cold emailing too. So we wanted to be really strategic about how we email, and we've had actually pretty good success with that.
We've partnered with Ascend TMS, the world's most popular and top-rated transportation management system. It's the ultimate tool for all your freight needs. You can use our referral code RA-FreightCaviar to receive 3 months of Ascend TMS for free. It only takes 20 seconds to sign up and no credit card is required. You can click the link below to learn more. Welcome, Emmanuil, to the FreightCaviar Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. I know that you were born and raised in Ukraine. Can you tell us a bit about your background? You were born in Ukraine and how you made it to America?
Yeah, so I came to America when I was 5 years old. My dad, so prior, he used to work in Moscow, and he was a general contractor, which is crazy that same thing how we do in freight broker when we start out, we don't know what we're doing. He did the exact same thing in general contracting. He didn't know anything about contracting jobs out, and he started working on hospitals in Moscow, and so I kind of took that work ethic from him. So basically we came here when I was 5 years old. He started trucking because that's the natural thing to do. It's either construction or trucking in the Slavic community, so he started doing that.
Exactly.
So basically he started trucking for a big fleet. This was like back in 08 or actually right before the recession hit. He started trucking and loads were paying good. So he was probably thinking that, this was going to be like same thing in 2021. Everyone's like, okay, $7 a mile, let's go,
Yeah.
But that was not the case because then recession hit. And then he basically kept working for that person. And that guy had like 50 trucks and a bunch of owner ops. He was like a really big deal here. Like when people brought his name up, he was like a big shot. But in about 2011, he got his own rig, started going to East Coast and back. He did a reefer, and then 2016 came around. My older brother, he started helping him out by loading him. And my older brother's only about 5 years older, and he started dispatching him. And then I dropped out in ninth grade, so I'm like, I want to go do this too, And because I saw a lot of people were making money in trucking, and my mom wasn't too happy about it. I had school that I did. It was like K-12. And then while I was TIPA doing school, I wasn't actually doing school. I was actually loading my dad and trying to help out the business as much as I can. And I did that for about 3 years or so. But yeah, I don't know. I went on a little tangent, but I don't know if you want to.
You dropped out in ninth grade?
Yeah.
Is that even legal?
Yeah.
Probably
you
not.
can drop out ninth.
I
think you can.
But you need like a parental signature, I'm pretty sure, on it. Like the parent has to agree to like
fake it, yo.
I remember once I was like home chilling outside, and a cop came over and he's like, are you Emmanuil? I'm like, yeah, I am. He's like, oh, why aren't you in school? I'm like, I don't know. I was trying to give him some BS reason. He's like, hey, you got to go back to school or else we're going to give you a fine. So I just did like online school at home and stuff like that.
Oh, wow. So the cops came to you.
Yeah.
Basically, you're like, they're like, you got to go back to school. Like that. So it is illegal.
No, I mean, did they come to you, or were you somewhere outside and they came up to you and like, why aren't you in school?
No. So I just stopped attending. But then since they were like on my ass about it, I just told my mom, hey, I'll just do online school. So then they got off my case. But yeah.
Okay, very interesting. So you grew up in Ukraine for like 5 years, and then you end up moving to Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon has like a large, or if I'm not mistaken, it's Portland, Oregon. But that has a large diaspora of Ukrainians, right?
Yeah, it's a huge Slavic community there.
Yeah. Why Portland? Just curious. Is there like a specific reason why Portland?
I have no idea. Honestly, I don't know why they would chose such a trashy city for what it is now. I mean, maybe back then it was a lot more beautiful, but now like the homelessness and just the politics here are really bad. But I live more in a rural area, so I'm chill.
Super expensive though.
Yeah,
Doesn't make
definitely,
any sense.
not where I don't know the real estate in Poland or in South Carolina, but I know it's probably a lot cheaper than in Portland and Seattle for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. And now you're based out of Vancouver, Washington, which is what part of Washington? I forgot.
It's just 20 minutes north of Portland. It's actually a up and coming city. It's been developing for the past few years, so
Okay.
it's actually really great. Yeah.
And you're at the WeWork there?
No. This is not
Nice.
a WeWork. So we actually have you probably know what this is, but it's a room, a phone booth. It's like
Yeah,
pretty
WeWork
expensive phone
has
booth.
those.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Every WeWork has those. That's why I thought it was a WeWork.
No. We have this in our office. I got this off Facebook Marketplace, so I was like,
Oh,
why not
nice,
use it?
nice. Okay.
So what
Cool.
does that do? It kind of closes out so nobody can kind of hear you? Is that what it is?
Basically, yeah. This is a lot for cold calling, meeting with customers over Zoom, just a lot more
Yeah.
intimate and not hear a lot of background
That's
noise.
smart. I was thinking of getting one for my office, actually. Is it expensive to get one of those?
Brand new, they're pretty priced. They're about $5-6 grand, I think, somewhere
Okay.
around there.
How much you
But
pay?
I got mine for like $1,500. So
It's not bad.
yeah.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah, that's
That's
not bad
really
at all.
so Emmanuel, I think this episode will be good for anyone that's trying to get into brokerage but doesn't know anything about brokerage, because you ended up being a dispatcher for your dad. Then you went to you decided to go to freight broker school in Arizona. And I believe that anyone that's listening to this episode right now, and if you're at a point where you want to start a brokerage, you don't know how to start a brokerage, and you want to know like what it's like to actually like operate and run a brokerage in the beginning, this is a good episode for you. Could you kind of tell us how you got or why did you want to become a freight broker, and what's this freight broker school in Arizona that you attended?
Yeah. So basically what ended up happening is, so I as soon as I joined my brother and we started growing the fleet of trucks, and we got from, I believe when I joined him, because I left for a period like 6 months to go work at On Track, and then I came back and he grew that fleet from 2 trucks and we grew it to like 7-8 trucks. And that's where honestly, that's where I really learned about trucking, is when we started having our own fleet and understanding kind of like everything. And I now work from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. and I started doing accounting, invoicing, and obviously, Bob, when you're a startup and you're getting everything off the ground, it's super hard. Like
Yeah.
you know what you're doing, but you're obviously trying everything out. Obviously, you have to book loads, you have to coordinate everything, talk to the drivers. DOT can put you out of service. You have to. I was warehousing. I got my CDL to try to do local pickups and drops, talking to shippers. So I did a lot in that 1 year, from I think 2020 September till 2021 September. So a full year, I was just dedicated to learning the carrier side. And I thought honestly that's where I was gonna end up. I thought, okay, this is gonna be my future. I'm probably gonna maybe build it with my brother, maybe start my own thing. But then a year passed, and my brother, my oldest brother, he's a driver for us. He got put out of service for no reason. Well, probably something minor. I'm not too sure what it was, but they just put him out of service and they didn't want to give us any reasons why. And we were just like super pissed off at that. We are like trying to call the DOT, like, yo, what's going on here? And so what ended up happening was my brother's like, maybe we should look into freight brokerage, because it seems like less liabilities, and there can be more opportunity on that end. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe we should give it a shot. We didn't know anything about the brokerage side. We just knew we didn't like him and we hated them. That's the only thing we knew about
Yeah.
them. But basically, we were like, okay, let's give it a shot. So my brother joined or started the DAT online course. I don't know what he did exactly,
Yeah.
but he did that. And they're like, oh, you should go to Arizona. There's this freight broker school. And I'm like, okay, freight broker school, whatever. And then he sent me out there because he's like, hey, I'll take care of the trucks and everything. You go and you start brokering freight and learning everything about it. So that was the journey. I went out there for 5 days and they just kind of
It
ran
was a
down everything.
Okay. Oh, sorry. It was a 5 day schooling. And what year was this?
This is 2021.
2021. Got it. Okay. Sorry, continue.
September. Yeah. So basically, I was there for 5 days, but
hey there, amazing listeners. If you're enjoying what you're hearing on our podcast, we need your support. It will only take a moment, but it would mean the world to us. Please make sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to share with one of your friends that would enjoy our content. Your engagement helps us reach more people and bring more awesome episodes to you. Thanks a million, and thanks for being part of the podcast community.
I probably shouldn't have been there because they were explaining like, what does a BOL mean? I'm like, I already know this stuff, I don't need to know. I think it was just mostly people that really don't understand like the industry
Anything
as a
about it.
whole. Anything about it. So I was just there like, okay, whatever. Like I got some out of it, maybe like 30% out of it, out of those 5 days. And so basically I came back, grabbed one of my buddies from On Track that I used to work with. He's also Slavic. His name is Alex Holloway. And I started working with him. And it was just this tiny 200 square foot office in Troutdale. And we started working there, and we started just calling, and we were downloading softwares left and right. I didn't even know what I was doing. So I'm like, whatever, let's Freight Wave Sonar, $5,000. I don't know what that is, but let's buy it. We didn't even have any loads to broker. We're just like, let's just buy it and see what we can do. So, yeah, it was fun times, but yeah.
Yeah. So you just started cold calling shippers, right? I mean, that's kind of like the gist of it. What was like what was that all like? Because like, I mean, that's obviously difficult to do because you're cold calling shippers. You don't really know, like you're getting rejected. And then even if a shipper says, okay, like quote me this, you're like, okay, like I don't even know how to quote this. So take us through that. Cause I'm kind of curious how that all went through, like went by.
So I don't know. We tried doing a lot of cold calling. We did that a lot in the beginning, and then we got more in depth with cold emailing too. So we wanted to be really strategic about how we email, and we've had actually pretty good success with that. And I remember our first customer, we were so happy, like moving our first load. We're like, woohoo! Finally, we're able. We're like, there's hope, And then this was at the peak of the market, so we lost $2,000 on that load. Just to make that customer happy. So I'm like, yeah, not really a woohoo, this is really tough. So this was a load from Chicago, and the Chicago carriers, they were asking for out of this moon prices at the time. It was Chicago to Florida, and it was like I got it for 58 and I sold it for like 72 or something like that. And nobody was willing to take it because my credit score, obviously we were new.
Yeah.
You know how it is, 50 up front, 50 at the end, and you're just like zelling them, and it's like messing with your QuickBooks. And I'm just like, man, what the heck is going on? But that was kind of our first experience. But yeah.
So how'd you grow from there?
So that was
Go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
No, I was gonna ask. So you only ran one load with that customer, or did you get more repetitive freight with him after?
We got repetitive freight, but then we ended up finding out that they were going bankrupt. So we were like, man, hopefully they can pay us out for all this loads. I think we had like a balance of like 10 grand or something. Alex, the one that actually got the customer, he reached out to the CEO on LinkedIn and was like messaging him like, yo, can you please pay us? Like, we're going to go out of business if you don't pay us. We're like down to not that much money, so they ended up finally paying after a few months. But yeah, that was the experience for the first.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then what happened after that? Did you guys end up learning like a lesson after that, or did you guys find somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's so hard because it's like you obviously don't know what customer is good and what's bad. You don't know if maybe this customer is really good and that can give you good freight, and maybe you just have to take a loss on a few loads. I did the same thing. I lost a few $100 on a load, which ended up being one of our biggest accounts now, so it's honestly it depends.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's what a lot of people that start up brokerages, they don't, or I didn't even understand that either, is like, yeah, you can get the customer. Yeah, it's super tough to find a carrier because you're not well established or you don't factor with a lot of companies. And then even when you get that load, after you broker it out, even if you make, $100 or $200 on it, the customer can still not pay, still get, and that's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I feel like the shippers that are like typically easy to get, where you call them up and like, oh yeah, I got a load for you. Those are the ones like least to be trusted. Because like if you're a good shipper, they already have all their brokers. They're good. The ones that are like looking around for new brokers to work with, those are typically the ones that you can't trust. So it's also tough.
It's either you find them at the right place at the right time, which is super rare. That's like 1 in a million chance.
Yeah.
Or you're just getting not a really good customer. They're always shopping around. Cause I'm like, every time they're like, Yeah, I have a good feeling school. I'm always hesitant. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I really like where this is going, but yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. So like, I mean, that was back in 2021, right? You started the brokerage?
Yeah, that's when I first started.
Okay.
September 15th, I think, is when our MC went live. But yeah.
Okay. And right now you're at $6 million in revenue. You have 12 employees, which
Yeah.
is I mean, you've grown a lot, especially in this down market. Like what are the strategies? Like, I mean, you said cold calling and cold emailing, but I mean, there's obviously a lot more than that in growing a business.
Of course.
What does that look like? I mean, it's tough.
Yeah. I can tell you kind of how we were able to
Tell
grow.
me all your secrets, Emmanuel.
I'll send you an email with all my shippers and everything. But so this is kind of how it started. How I started being really diving into Zeal Logistics is so year one we did like, I don't know, $80,000 in revenue that first year, which was
Okay.
only like 8 months, or not 8 months. Sorry, it was like 3-4 months of
Yeah.
working. It was probably a lot less than that, but I screwed up the QuickBooks so much I don't even know anymore. But so 2022 came around and we hired a guy that worked for my brother on the trucking side, and he was a really good dispatcher. So I really wanted to get that talent. And so basically we didn't end up working out in the beginning because he's like, oh, I want to be an agent. I want, the 70-30 split. I'm like, oh, I'm not really looking for agents, I'm looking more for employees. So he left and went to a different brokerage, but they were more of, I think, even newer than us. So they weren't like really invested in that as much as I was and Alex. So he ended up coming back. And 9 months in, he realized that he's not made to be an agent. So we actually signed him up to be an agent. But he's the kind of person that's really good at managing accounts and growing accounts, not so much of just doing his own thing, like Landstar agents. So we had him on, and then we hired another guy in August, and he is my brother's his brother-in-law, and he just left the job doing insurance cold calling, talking consumers all day long. And we were thinking, okay, maybe he can be a good fit for us. But at the time, we're like 6 months into 2022, and we're like, man, I don't know, like we can't really afford to pay him because he had a family, he had 2 kids, he has a house, mortgage. But we're like, whatever, we'll take a flyer on him, we'll pay him a small salary, and kind of and this guy didn't know anything about logistics either, so we had to train him up. But quickly he realized he was really good because he's sales, and if you're good at sales, you can apply to any industry. It doesn't matter which industry you're in. So he started cold calling, cold emailing, and he was really good, and I learned actually a lot from him over the last year. And he was able to acquire, and then within like 2-3 months he was able to acquire like $1 billion company to work with them. So that was like a big game changer. And then Ruben, our other guy that wanted to be an agent, I had like 2 accounts that I was working on, and I started giving them to him. I'm like, hey, here's an account, just work on it, build a relationship, and grow that. And over the last year, he was able to grow that 3 times over what I was able to do, because I was like juggling a bunch of stuff. I was doing, everything. I was trying to do marketing. I was trying to build my website. I was like doing so much at the time. So I'm like, I need to delegate some of these accounts to other people so they can grow.
Yeah.
And especially since it's a really tough market, especially with freight brokers, you can make a whole bunch of money or you can make no money at all, so I just started zoning in on just finding customers and just kind of giving them out to my employees, and through that we're just able to hire. We saw a need in January of 2023. We're like, okay, we had at the time 5 employees, and we're like, okay, we need track and trace, we need to make sure people are on top of it. So we hired a track and trace guy for a good sum of a small salary. It was nothing crazy, but we were able to onboard him. Eventually that track and trace position for him ended up being carrier sales. So he obviously already started getting familiar with talking to carriers. So we built on that. And then we obviously saw some more cash flow. We saw some more customers coming in. So we're like, okay, let's reinvest. And the first 2 years of starting Zeal, I did not take one paycheck out. I bootstrapped with my brother. Thank God for my brother's trucking company that was able to kind of funnel in the money to Zeal and kind of get it up and running. But yeah, it was definitely a tough first 2 years for sure. So anyone that's trying to get into it, It's not easy. I'll tell you that much. It's not
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely super tough in the beginning. I feel like it's crazy, and people don't really realize how tough it is.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your perspective on brokers now, going from being a carrier to now being a brokerage? And you said that you used to hate brokers. How do you feel now,
Yeah.
like seeing both sides of things?
I respect them a lot more. A lot more. I understand them a lot more now. Before I was just like, they have unlimited amount of money in every load, and I'm like, they just don't want to give me the money. So I was like, man, I really understand that they obviously have mouths to feed too. And before, when I was on the carrier side, we were like kind of working with every broker we can. The only broker we kind of try to stay with was TQL. That was like the only one that were like really hard to deal with. They'd call you at 4 a.m., 30 times just for, hey, where's the truck at? We obviously don't do that here at Zeal. So my mindset shifted obviously to respect brokers more, but also working on the carrier side, seeing them treat us as a carrier. Now, when I'm a broker, I want to kind of eliminate a few practices that I kind of learned about brokers when I was on the carrier side, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Makes sense. I'm curious, Bob, have you been working on your brokerage at all or no?
Me personally, not really, not that much, but I know like what he's actually saying, like it's so tough in the beginning because we actually opened one up too, like not that long ago, and my partner's working more on it. But like it's crazy hard in the beginning because a lot of carriers don't even want to work with you, like even if you get the customer, even if you have the freight and then you try to broker it out, it's like a lot of carriers don't, especially in this market since the market is so like low, nobody really wants to kind of trust you and take that load from you.
Yeah, definitely very hard.
For sure.
Not until like you're well established and can work with all the factoring companies and stuff. So
yeah, that was also a pain too, is working with factoring companies. A lot of them in the beginning didn't want to work with us. They were like, oh, send us a balance of like 10 grand. Especially that check mark. That check mark was so hard to get. We were working with the carrier directly.
and DAT.
Yeah, DAT. And that was like a big achievement for us. Like, man, we really need that check mark. And have a credit score. And in the beginning,
So
it was just
how were you guys
tough.
able to get that check mark?
It's honestly, it took probably, man, I'm trying to think how long it took, but I think it took 8 months to get that check mark, 8 to 9 months. So the first 9 months was like paying carriers like 50-50. And then some of the carriers that were like kind of consistent and would do the same freight every single day. They obviously knew us and they loved working with us. So it was a lot easier for them to go through factoring. And we would tell the carriers like, hey, press your factoring company to work with us. Cause obviously we didn't want to work directly because we wanted to help our credit score,
Yeah, for
So
sure.
that's how that worked.
What freight tech tools do you use now, and which ones do you think helped you the most in growing your business?
Growing the business, I mean, just the basic ones. Right now, a few months ago we got on with Turbo,
Okay.
and they've been a great TMS. A little complex at first because we're used to Ascend TMS, so that was a lot easier to work with,
Sure.
But obviously, as we scaled, we wanted to have certain integrations, and we wanted customers to have their own portal if they need to. It's nice to have that, especially when you hop on a customer meeting, to have all these features available for them, and not miss opportunities. So we used the TMS or Turbo, and then we use Trucker Tools. That's like the most downloaded app for truckers. So we thought maybe that's probably be the best one. We used Trucker Tools. My carrier packet's very, very easy. We use Zoom Info, and we pay a crap ton of money to Zoom Info to give us data. And I don't know if you know what streaming intent is where.
What is it?
Do you know what that is? Streaming intent?
Streaming intent?
No.
Is that from Zoom Info?
Yeah.
Okay. I've heard of like the intent stuff from Zoom Info, but I don't know specifically what streaming intent is.
So streaming is the same thing, but it funnels in at the time that they're searching up something on Google, like.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. I've heard about that.
Yeah. So
if the customer is searching for something.
Yeah,
if they're on Google, so you're basically like reading their mind, right? If they're searching something up, you can call them up or email them, and then kind of somewhere in those lines put like, hey, I was researching a company. It looks like they're looking for a third-party logistics provider,
That's so crazy.
It's
Yeah,
very
that is
creepy.
creepy.
Yeah, sure. But it's crazy. If the data's out there, why not take advantage, right?
So has that helped you? Have you noticed like that you've like, I don't know, won a customer because of that?
Honestly, I don't know if we ever actually won a customer out of that. And in the
Yeah,
beginning, I was like, "Dang, this is cool,"
it
having
is cool for sure.
this software. But we've a lot is just mostly just like targeting areas and being more niche. So for a couple of our guys, we try to focus on like local companies. Like last night, I went to a dinner with the customer, and he told me he's like, "Hey, he's like, the only reason I give you guys a shot or am giving you a shot is because you guys are local, and we've seen a good amount of success with that, especially since we already know a lot of Slavics that are in the area. We know a network of carriers, and they were probably willing to do a better rate than posting on the load board. So I figured that maybe we should just call up local companies, and just connect with them.
Yeah.
So do you just call them, or do you sometimes just go and knock on the doors and try to get in like that? Have you ever did that?
I've done that, I think, twice in my life ever, and they told me to get away, or else we're gonna call the police for trespassing. So,
Really?
and
Me and
then
Paul went in Charlotte. It wasn't even that. It
Yeah.
was pretty good actually.
was it?
We had good success.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
actually have to release the video. We haven't
But,
released the video yet of us doing
oh, you
that.
guys
But then
actually
again,
recorded
people
it?
in the
Yeah, we did.
yeah, but then again, people in the South are way more nice than, people in Portland, I'm sure. So
Yeah, a bunch of people in Portland. I don't know. They obviously a lot of them are liberals, so maybe for them they just
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they just don't like us. So
They're like, send me through an email, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, there's like, give me your business card, and then we'll see what we can do. And that always means that get the heck out of here. We're not gonna do business with you most of the time.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you just call up local companies essentially, and you reach out to them, cold calls, cold emails. Have you noticed what works best? Like, is it the cold call, or is it a cold email?
Um, Honestly, for us in our office, it depends on the person. Some people are really good at sending out emails, and I'm like, dang, this is a good email that you're sending out. And I'm like, dang, I would be convinced, if I was a shipper.
Yeah.
We Chat GPT has been really great at like helping us kind of construct a really good email. We've
Yeah.
been able to use that. And then some of our guys are really good on the phone, and just kind of being very personal. And just having that good charisma, when they're on the phone. So some
Sure.
people have better luck than others, but for big shippers, like Eugene, the guy that works on enterprise sales, he does mostly emails, and he actually generates a lot of responses from these big shippers because he really knows how to send a good email out.
Okay. Very, very cool.
Yeah,
I was actually going to say that your website is really nice. Did you create your website?
I did. Yeah, it's my second website I ever built.
How did you do that?
I have no idea. I just went on Wix and kind of took example from like Arrive Logistics. They had a pretty cool website too. And
Sure.
I kind of just mimic whatever other cool websites that were out there and just kind of built my own. And it took me a long time. It took me like 2 months. I probably should have hired like a web designer, but I'm like, I just want to learn something new, and why not? And I can build at my own pace, like, and I added whatever I wanted in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't know you could like do that. I've always paid someone to create a website, and your website's
Yeah,
nice.
exactly.
Well, now there's so many different platforms, I think, that can kind of have all these
Yeah.
profiles or whatever templates,
Mhm.
that you can
Yeah.
use. And yeah, it's pretty easy,
I
and they
think
just charge not even that much.
there's also there's like an integration with ChatGPT that you can like tell it to make a website like a certain way, and then it kind of
Yeah.
like makes it out, and then you can just continue like putting in certain things you want, and it puts it out there. It's pretty cool.
That's
Or
crazy.
Mhm.
ChatGPT is taking over the world, I swear.
Yeah,
Dude,
they're gonna be
they're
brokering our loads.
they're coming out with it
I
went
know.
live for some accounts, but like it's gonna be like live with the internet. So it won't be anymore like, oh, it was last updated in like November of 2021. Now it's gonna be live. Like
Wow, that's
live
crazy.
info. Yeah. But
Yeah.
what you did say that
Did you guys?
ChatGPT go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, where they made like live videos of like Tom Hanks and all that, where they were
Yeah,
promoting certain brands. That's crazy.
yeah.
Imagine if you had someone. Imagine
Yesterday
if
we
you had
were with the
like a
office.
famous person promote like your company, or like a brokerage, and
Yeah.
It's like you can get your name out there really quick, but then I'm pretty
Oh
sure
yeah.
it's illegal. So I don't know.
I don't
Definitely
know.
illegal.
I saw like a debate. It was like Biden versus Trump, and they were just like saying some
Yeah.
out of pocket stuff, and they're just like it looks so real too, and I'm like, man, this is scary.
That's funny. You did say, Emmanuel, that
Yeah.
ChatGPT helps you write emails. And I'm kind of curious because whenever I get an email in my inbox, I could tell if it was written by ChatGPT, and it bothers me. I just tend to delete it right away. I'm like, you know what? If someone didn't take the time to like actually write out an email, and it just
Yeah.
like, I'm like, I won't give them the time of day. So, like, I don't know, like, do you just send out what ChatGPT writes up, or do you give it a specific prompt? What does that
No,
look like?
we definitely so they had ChatGPT 3 and then there's ChatGPT 4 that
Yeah,
just came
I have the
out.
4. I mean,
The
the four
4
is
and it's
the 4's been out for a while, but I've been using it. I use it every day
yeah, it's a lot better,
Yeah.
I would say, than the
for
3.
sure.
And honestly, we put in a lot of time for ChatGPT to create that email. So we put in a lot of stuff. So it's not just like make me an email for Bob at MX Trucking, and it just types it out and I'll just send it. It's not like that. I would say like I make a really detailed descriptive email saying how can we gain this shipper's insight on this, include the TMS they use and maybe the challenges they face on a day-to-day basis, and kind of be really how do I explain this? It's something just like you got to be really detailed when you talk to ChatGPT. And I think
Sure.
that's what we've noticed. And if also you put their website, like let's say you put shipzeal.com, it'll grab something like a bunch of stuff from their website and kind of put it in that email that's kind of related to logistics as well.
Okay.
Oh
Got
wow.
it.
Yeah.
That's
So it's
smart.
pretty cool. Yeah. We're not like, it's not just like, oh, send an email to this guy and it just sends it out.
Sure.
We're not like that. We're like, obviously we're really detailed and everything. And we obviously take some stuff out that sounds really cheesy, and you obviously know where it's like robotic, but it's kind of just like a
Yeah.
guideline of just helping us kind of send out emails.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Bob, do you know how old Emmanuel is?
Let me look at
How
the
old,
email,
how old do you
right?
think I own?
Just
I don't know.
guess.
25.
I
Nope.
think
25.
no. 22, right?
What is
Yeah.
it?
22. I
Oh,
think
wow.
you're our youngest guest so far, Emmanuel.
Really?
Yeah,
Youngest guest.
we
Yeah.
never talked to anyone as young as you.
Well, you're pretty smart for being 22 years old and getting this far,
And for dropping out in 9th grade.
That's awesome.
I think that's where I give
Man.
myself credit, is dropping out in 9th grade. Maybe that was one of the best decisions I made for trucking.
Yeah. That's impressive though. For real. When I was 22, I was my first year as a broker,
Yeah.
like working for someone. I had a $33,000 a year salary plus commission. I
Paul
made
was
what? What were you gonna say? Bob?
I said Paul was just working in Ukraine at 22 years old and just yeah. I don't know, the audio cuts out all the time.
I
don't
think
know
I'm
why.
not sure whose Wi-Fi. One of our Wi-Fi's is not good. I think it might be yours, Bob.
It might be Emmanuel's box, it blocks all the Wi-Fi. I don't know. Maybe it's mine.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I was making $33,000. This was back in 2015, and I made like $12,000 commission the first year. So I made like 45K, and that was me when I was 22. So, and I thought I was
Well,
like,
Not
it's
bad.
not bad. I mean, it wasn't bad. Straight out of
yeah,
college.
Yeah,
but did you ever think that you were gonna? Okay, you made 45 the first year. Were you
Yeah.
thinking like, man, maybe I should go find something else that pays better, or you're like, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna keep trying?
So I ended up leaving the company I worked for, and then I ended up traveling for like 6 months. My dad worked for an airline, so I had really cheap tickets. So I was just traveling all around the world. I had $6,000 saved up, and then I came back home after 6 months, and I was going to go do my master's in psychology because I was like, okay, like I don't want to go back in logistics. But then I was literally broke. I'm like, I need to go get a job ASAP. So I got a job in logistics as a broker, and I was like, my thought process was like, I'll just go there for like a few months, save up some money, and then I'll go do my master's. I ended up liking working for that company. And then they asked me to move to Ukraine, and they ended up moving me to Ukraine and paying for the apartment, the Uber, big salary. So like I honestly was like, hey, this is not so bad. So I ended up just staying and working in logistics and moving to Ukraine. So that's kind of like
Wow.
the way.
You're living like the CEO of TQL in Ukraine, huh?
I was not anymore. Not anymore. Yeah. Now I'm like counting every dollar. So
It's okay. I mean, you're a business owner. You
yeah.
gotta make sure that your books are checked. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
very important.
Exactly. But it seems like you're on top of your stuff with like QuickBooks and like just building a
Yeah. So
business.
not me specifically. I don't give credit to myself on that, but my brother is definitely more into financials and profit and loss and balance sheets. I'm not really about that. So I kind of do where I'm good at, and he focused on the back end. And we actually just hired a accountants, CFO, whatever you want to call them.
Sure.
And he got them in, and they're just able to help us a lot, especially with like back office. And I don't know, you probably know this, but you have to call shippers day and night to get a freaking check from them,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's so hard. And the cash flow, I
Thank-
think the biggest thing in freight brokerage is cash flow, because cash flow is so hard in freight brokerage to come, because you pay a carrier in 30 days, but then the shipper's like, oh, 50 days or 70 days. I don't know. It's all different for each person. It's like, oh, you didn't send the POD right, You have to go back and then ask for the carrier. The carrier doesn't know where the POD is, you probably threw it away at that point. And man, it's difficult with that cash flow. Yeah.
It is for sure. Do you use a
Yeah.
factoring company?
No, we do not use I try to stay away, because I'm like, man, that 2 or 3% just I can't live with
And
that.
that's
Especially if we're go ahead.
that's top line revenue. It's not 2-3% of
Yeah.
profit. It's top line, so it could be all the profit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's some shippers, like, we make only 5%, so they're taking more than what we're making. I'm like, nah, I can't do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
makes
Definitely
sense.
not. Yeah.
Definitely. So, what advice would you give, Emmanuel, to anyone that's like listening that like, okay, I want to start a brokerage, and like I don't know, coming from the trucking side or just not being in logistics whatsoever, like what would you tell them right now?
What would I tell him right now? I would tell him, definitely don't look at it as a short-term business. So in my opinion, you got to be in it for the long ride. And obviously it's really bumpy right now, especially right now. It's really hard to get into freight brokerage, just because of the nature of so many shippers are getting bombarded. I talk to shippers and they're like, we get like 40, 50 emails a day, like trying to gain our business. And right now is not the easiest. So I would just say, just stick through it. And if you can see the long-term vision of where you want to be in 10 years from now, I don't think you should worry about just the current market, because the market always shifts, it's a cycle. So that's very important. I think you just got to work hard. Always stay up to date, I would say, to the latest news, or whatever you can find, like the news on a company, right? Like maybe let's say you're seeing their graph and they're growing 3x every year. So they're probably, moving a lot of freight, or they need help, on their supply chain. I would say that. Also, I think I don't give credit enough to the guys that work with me. I think they're one of the best guys that I've was able to hire. And it's one thing to find an employee and keep them, but it's another thing to where they believe in your vision and they want to go where you want to go and lead them. So finding the right talented people, I think, is really crucial, and obviously paying them good. And yeah, it's very difficult, especially in Portland. A lot of them are dispatchers and they work for small trucking companies. So I see this like big vision of like, because I know there's not a lot of freight brokerages in Portland, but I see this big vision in Portland to start a massive, well, I don't know, who knows where I'll be in 5-10 years, but I do want to start a really good and grow a big freight brokerage to where I can have talented people come and not be limited to just 5 trucks loading, because you're capped out, like 5 trucks, how many trucks can you load? After that, you can't really do much. But in
Yeah.
brokerage, you get a shipper, you can scale to a 30-man team, and just as being a freight broker, so I definitely see that in the near term future. And just kind of getting those employees in and kind of being a part of our vision and growing with them and being alongside them, like not just being somewhere else. Oh, you're a CEO, like you don't talk to employees no more, but I want to be in the fight with them, and just I always go with meetings with all my employees. If they have a meeting with the customer, always go with them make sure that we gain that business and just kind of support them and just continue growing.
So soon there's going to be no trucking companies in Portland. They're all going to be working for you in the freight brokerage, you know?
No, I definitely think that there's a lot of good carriers out here in Portland. I don't know, Bob, do you know
Yeah,
any,
there's a
or
lot.
Paul?
Yeah, I met some actually in Chicago that came to the conference. They actually flew in there from Portland and Washington and stuff. So
What's
in
the
Seattle.
carrier that does Chicago to Oregon partials? There's one carrier. I used to work with them all the time. I used to work with this Lena girl.
There's probably a million of those.
There's one that's big though. There's one that's big. Like
over the road or rail? Which one?
I think they do mostly rail, but they won't say that they do rail. They'll tell you they do over the road.
Oh yeah. Truck
So we
broke
should
down
probably-
in South Dakota.
Yeah. Hey, we wanted
Yeah,
to ask you,
that.
so you mentioned a company out of Portland that your dad used to work for that had 50 trucks during the 2007 or whatever. What happened to them? Are they still in business or did they end up closing?
Honestly, I don't know. I know in 2010, right before my dad bought a truck, he got caught for like tax fraud. And so I think the whole trucking company went down. And then I think he moved to actually South Carolina. So I think South Carolina or North Carolina, Greenville or Greensboro. I
Yeah,
forgot.
that's South Carolina. Yeah.
South Carolina, yeah. I think he moved there, and I think he has a warehouse and like 10 or 15 trucks, but nowhere near the size of what it was back then, just because that's when all the immigrants that started flooding into Oregon and Washington, and he was able to just put his skills, and he had a lot of employees. He had like over 100, like in office and obviously drivers too, but yeah, they're not around today, I don't think.
Okay. Well, not around, I guess, Portland. They're probably just down here south. A lot of people move down here south from Portland.
Yeah, and I don't know how big they are now, but last I heard they have like 10 trucks or something like that, so he's pretty small now.
What
okay. Well,
when do you think the freight market will improve, Emmanuil?
Yeah, I don't even know. I can't give you any. I mean, I hear a lot of talk of next year would be a lot better, and then I listen to a lot of podcasts a lot, and I listen to probably every single podcast that you guys put out because I try to gain as much. I gain as much info as I can. You guys have really cool people on, and I know you guys just interviewed Will Jenkins, right, from Molo.
Yeah, I wasn't there, but I did. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's we started chatting it up a few months ago, and we got on a phone call, and we became pretty good friends, over
he's a good guy.
media. He's what?
He's a good guy. Good guy.
Yeah, definitely. And he gave me a lot of tips. He obviously started a brokerage from zero, and he grew to $600 million in revenue with Andrew and all the other guys, and I was just able to kind of gain a lot of insight from them. So podcast definitely helped me a lot. Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot better content nowadays out there for freight than there used to be.
Oh yeah,
like
definitely.
Yeah, which is great. And like if I was starting off right now, like the first thing I would do is just like listen to podcasts.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot. You told me to give advice on to start up as a broker. I think listening to FreightCaviar would definitely improve a lot. Just the way you look at business, and you guys ask really good and strategic questions, right? When you guys talk to your guests, and I think that helps the audience kind of captivate more of what they want to hear, in terms of like building a business and growing a brokerage or a trucking company, whatever it may be. I think it's really great, and it's helped me a lot. And I know this new one that just came on the Freight podcast with Andrew. He just started too.
Yeah,
and that one's been really great too.
Really good stuff.
Yeah, just extracting as much as you can and just trying to apply it to your business, where you see it a fit.
So Michael Jordan had this saying. He's like, I think it was Michael Jordan. He's like, don't tell me what I'm good at. Tell me what I'm bad at. So like, I'm curious, what kind of feedback would you give us in terms of like, how can we improve the podcast?
How can you guys improve the podcast?
Yeah. Anything.
Honestly, I don't know.
Get professional equipment, Paul.
Yeah, I know. I gotta buy that for you, Bob.
But here's the thing, though. There's people that like that, because if you look on TikTok, nobody really likes the crazy professional cameras and all that crazy stuff. They like just a regular phone, and they're just showing the product. Like, this is what I use. Like, let's say makeup. This is what I use to make up, and they apply it. And my wife always tells me, it's like people don't really like all that lights, camera. They like more just like at home, more personal on the phone type of work, but I don't know. I could be
Yeah.
wrong.
So, any feedback?
Feedback. I don't know. Maybe better equipment. I don't know. 'Cause
Better
we're having
equipment.
issues with
Yeah.
Wi-Fi.
Better equipment.
I don't
That's
know.
I like that. Yeah, that's definitely something we need.
I'm buying one of those boxes for my next office. I'm gonna get one of those boxes too, so it's all zoned out.
Awesome. That's good. It's good. It's
Yeah.
really good.
And then Emmanuel, also in terms of freight tech, let's say you're someone that's starting off right now. What would you tell like someone that's just starting? This is what you should get, like in terms of like don't, because you said you spent a lot of money on like other stuff that you didn't really need technology wise. Right now, knowing all that, what would you be like? Okay, this is only stuff I need. You have zero customers at this point.
Yeah. You can get by in the beginning with just packets. So like you send those emails PDF packets, right? And they can sign up as that. You can do that. I mean, personally, I wouldn't do that because it becomes really hard with carriers. They don't have Adobe or they're not as tech savvy, right? The carriers. So I would say my carrier packets, they've been really good to us, and I think that'd be a good one. Carrier packets, and then trucker tools would be a good one. And honestly, in the beginning, I think a CentiMS would definitely be the way to go. They're probably one of the cheapest and one of the best on the market, and it does the job. Yeah, it has a decent amount of clicks, that you have to click through, but it does the job really well. And I'm trying to remember, LinkedIn would probably be a good one too. I think you can connect with a lot of people on there, so LinkedIn for sure. And then obviously for scouring leads, I know there's a Lucia. I forgot what the name is for generating leads. And then Zoom Info, obviously.
Sure.
But
There's a
those
thing
are the
called
things
Shipper
that you need.
CRM too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard of
Oh,
it, but
yeah,
I heard
yeah.
it's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're relaunching in November, so be ready to have your mind blown. It's going to be really cool. I'll send you, Emmanuel, a demo. We could schedule a demo. I'll show you how it looks like. It's really, really slick.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm always trying out new technologies all the time. Every week I'm like, let me try something new. There's like this new one that just came out with basically it's pretty interesting. It's kind of like streaming intent, but it's more personal on the person, where it extracts data from their LinkedIn, and it'll make a cold email to where it says like, hey, I like that post, what did you mean by that? And it'll kind of give like a descriptive on the email. So it's pretty cool. I love technology, and just always evolving. Yeah.
Sure. There's so much has changed in the last like few years with technology, and so much is getting added on. I know there's a lot of technology that's not that useful, and it's just kind of smoke and mirrors kind of situation where everyone, some people might market it as the new hot thing, and it doesn't really turn out to be that way. But overall, if you look at the last 20 years, a lot of tools like you just mentioned, like a CentiMS, trucker tools, my carrier packets, like all these are all relatively new tools, and they're all in the market. So, and it helps anyone that's specifically, or if you're new in the game, it's good to use. Awesome.
For sure.
Emmanuel, thanks for joining us. Anything else you want to add on before we finish?
Where can people contact you? What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Do you want people to contact you? That's the first question.
Sure, why not? I'm always looking for good talent out there, and I'm always looking to connect with some good people. And if I'm ever in town in Chicago, South Carolina, or if you guys are ever in town in Portland, let me know. I'll love to take you guys out, and they got some cool restaurants here and some fun things to do for sure. And they can contact me on my LinkedIn, or Zeal Logistics. They'll find me in the employees section. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Awesome.
Nice.
And shipzeal.com. That's the website.
Yes,
that's a nice website.
Yes. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
I tried very hard on it.
Awesome. Emmanuel, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, man. Nice talking to you. Yep.
Yeah.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Freight Caviar Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, or if you didn't, leave a review. Let me know what you think. I appreciate any feedback. If you'd like to have more Freight Caviar content, go to freightcaviar.com and subscribe to my email newsletter.